get things kicked off. I want to respect the time. Everyone was good enough to be here on time. I want to get things going. And I'm going to start off with some slides. It's not going to be a PowerPoint presentation kind of day. I just want to kick things off properly by introducing the meeting. So thank you very much for being here. Thank you for not just being here at this, but thank you for your enthusiasm enough to help your club or other clubs, whichever you're here for. This is the thing that helps clubs continue, is somebody who cares. All it takes is one or two people that really care that can help bring a club back. We've seen it over the years, and it is amazing where things can go. So whether you're part of a successful club or part of a club that's struggling to get going, I always say there are two things that never last: bad times and good times. And so we've got a panel of people here to help you today, of people who have had the fortune of being around in a club that's had some good times, some not so great times in between, but we've managed to stitch things together. And I think with the quality of the people we've got here for you, you're going to see why we've been an amazingly successful club. Our goal today is to provide ideas and to help clubs, your clubs, and you as members get the best out of the success out of the Toastmasters and what you have here. Why this panel? Well, because the Ajax Pickering Toastmasters Club has achieved 16 consecutive President's Distinguished Club Awards. As far as we can tell, that's a record in District 60. We haven't seen any evidence to prove against it, but all our adding up proves this, and we're about to get our 17th. And it's been a great way of seeing this club progress and continue on. And again, we've got 4 panel members here who have accounted for 6 of those awards. And there's going to be a lot of ideas that you can take out of this, and there's going to be a lot of ideas that we provide that may not work for you. But the whole idea of this goal is to try to give you ideas to help spur things on and help things move along in your club. And even if you don't get to DCP now to get your distinguished or even your selector presence, even if it's not this year, if you build the foundations now of what will get you there in the future, build it now and they will come. Our agenda today, we're a little off on the timing right now, but we're going to have opening comments and introduction. We're going to have the roundtable discussion up until about 2:50. And if there's still good discussions going on, or we still haven't gotten to a lot of things, we'll continue it on. But what we want to do is save time at the end for your questions, how we can help problem solve some of the problems. And we'll keep it open to discussion as to that as well. It's not just going to be any one person giving answers or giving thoughts, because there are no one answers to solving things. And then we'll have some closing comments. If you have any questions, please submit them in the chat. If it's really pressing and you want to have it dealt with because we're on topic right now, raise your hand, let Chris know, this question is for right now. And she's been, I've asked her to jump in there and let me know. So who are we as the panel? My name is JD Thomas. I'm the president of the Ajax Pickering Toastmasters Club. This is my second term in the club president role. I've been the VP of Education, VP of Membership, Public Relations, 2 terms, Public Relations Officer for District 60. I was the club coach for one club, and I've been a Publicist of the Year for the district. And that's helped me over the years. More than just what you see there, I've had a lot of the great fortune of working with some of the most impressive people you've met, impressive Toastmasters, people who get the idea of what Toastmasters is and how to make it for the people. And I've not just had the benefit of having that, but I've also had the benefit of providing assistance as the Public Relations Officer for District 60. I worked with over 100 clubs directly to help them earn more points, to get them learn how to promote themselves better, how to become a better club when people do get there. And it really was a great experience. On the panel today, we also have Dennis Kelly, who is currently the Vice President of Education at the Toast APTM. He has previously been the president. He's been the VP of Education. He's been an area director, sergeant at arms, club mentor. He's been a mentor to so many of us at the club. It's incredible. And actually, I didn't put in how we've all been mentors for members, and that's a key thing that you're going to hear going forward. So welcome, Dennis. We have Patrice Esper, who is our current Vice President of Public Relations at the Ajax Pickering Toastmasters Club. And she has been a president. She's been the VP of Public Relations at our club. She's the current VP of Public Relations. And she has been a secretary, an area director, and a club coach. She is knocking it out of the park this year with a lot of great input. She's headed up our podcasts. She's done the newsletters. She's a great voice internally and externally for the club. And she's going to help give some great ideas on not just on the PR as well, but also she had some challenges in time as president when she was president of the club. And we've got Lynn Pino, who is our current mentorship chair. And this at the Ajax Pickering Toastmasters Club. I'm never going to stop saying that. My last term as president, I felt that we needed to put the mentorship as a real keystone part of our club. So we voted as a club and formalized the mentorship chair as a part of our club's executive. And this institutionalizes mentorship and allows for a program to be set that has members feeling like they are a part of something bigger and they have help. It was a lot different back when we were doing in person, and we showed up at meetings and people had quick questions and they could ask before, at a break or at the end, and they had a lot of opportunities to get extra help. Those opportunities are gone. So having a mentorship chair and having a structure to the mentors, helping people on a schedule and helping them to where they need it has been key. And Lynn is really, really nailing this mentorship role. She has been the president of the club. She's been the VP of Education, VP of Membership, Public Relations. She did a great job there. Sergeant at Arms. She's our treat master. Another thing we're going to talk about, because if you really want to get your club going, have a treat master. Nothing brings people in and keeps them there than having someone to give great treats. And by the way, butter tarts, so good. And she's also been a club coach. Now, of course, I'm always going to include our program quality director for the district, Chris Nelson, who is also the moderator for this panel today. And thank you very much, or for the meeting. And thank you. Chris is immeasurable in how much she has helped the district. She has helped in our Division E president. She's been of her club, VP of Education, VP of Membership, VP of Public Relations, area director, division director, club coach, sponsor, and mentor. And she has great ideas and great thoughts, which I'm going to include her into the panel through certain areas when we get to there. So thank you all, the panel, for being here. I really appreciate it. We're going to cover certain topics today. First, what is DCP? Because there are people who aren't as familiar. We've got Toastmasters who have just become members and have been thrust into executive roles. We want to establish what it is. We want to talk about successful meetings, because you can't get the points unless you have good, successful meetings. Successful executives and the executive panel in terms of the board of governors for your club and what it takes to do that. Some processes that you can put in place to help ease the burden. We're going to get into that and explain why it's important to have processes, and how to deal with challenges. A friend of mine provided some great thoughts to me on how to have a good, successful relationship. And if you can solve problems together, you've got everything else covered. And that's a key thing. And it's not just for relationships, it's also within the executives. If you learn how to deal with challenges together, everything else is easy. And so we're going to try to hit on those parts today. So first, what is the Distinguished Club Program? It's a way of guiding your club in terms of being successful. And it's about measuring the success of your club. And the key part of it is there's 10 points in it. 10 of those 10 points, 6 come from member education, which really speaks to the fact that Toastmasters International cares about people's progress. It cares about why people came in the door. It's one thing to be a not-for-profit, and I tell people all the time, when you're promoting Toastmasters, put that out there. But it is about the members and the member experience. And you want to make sure that they feel like they're progressing, because if they don't, then they don't feel like what they're getting out of the club is going to help them. They're not going to be there. And there's 4 for administrative tasks, 4 points for, and we're going to get into those in a minute, but making sure that you as an executive do the basics to get things going. And to gain your the DCP points. 5 to 6 points is the Distinguished Club Award. 7 to 8 points is the Select Distinguished Club Award. And 9 to 10 points is the President's Distinguished Club. And this is a great, it's not just great to get it in terms of feeling, yeah, we've got this and it's a check mark. But when you look at the success of the members of the clubs who get these, you see that they become very strong. So the education portion, as I said, 6 points. You get 4 points for achieving, you get 1 point for achieving 4 members who have achieved level 1 in their pathways. Another point for 2 members achieving level 2 in a given year. And this goes from the beginning of the year in July until the end of the year at the end of June. And so when you get 2 more achieving members in pathways, you get another point. You get two members getting a level 3 in their pathways, you get a point. 1 member achieving level 4, 5, or a DTM, you get the point. And 1 more member achieving level 4, 5, or DTM gets you another point. And it's important to have these things. Again, this is a reflection. And when you get members getting their educational goals, they're going to stick around. They're going to be more involved. They're going to become the next executives. And you don't have members who have been on the executives for year after year after year. So it's good to help keep them around. Of course, clubs can't grow and be successful unless they have new members coming in. So you get 1 point for 4 new members. You get another point for 4 more new members. And then you get 1 point for both rounds of club officers training. And the club officer training isn't just great for having the points, but they've always provided excellent ideas on how to run your club and how to provide the best leadership that you can. And of course, 1 more point for membership renewal dues that submitted on time, and the club officers list submitted on time. And this is very early on. That's mostly within the secretary and treasurer roles. Make sure that you have good people helping you in those, and make sure you help all the members of your executive to get these awards in order to be successful. Where to get DCP guidance and help. And if you're not familiar with the DCP points and how to do it, there's lots of great parts, the places to get help. There's the Distinguished Club Program and Club Success Plan Guide. It's a PDF available on the Toastmasters International website. There's also talking to your area director. If you're part of a club that's having troubles, or if you think you might be having troubles, even if you're having a good time, be close with your area director. There's resources there that can help you. Your area director and the division director, it's more the area director, but there's people above. There's layers of assistance for you. And there's a reason why we're broken out. It's allowing you to get more direct access to higher levels of support. So if you're not sure who it is, go to the District 60 website and look at the leadership, and you'll see who your area director is. And you can seek for a club coach or a mentor. If you're having some difficulties in the executive, if you're having troubles with the membership, having a club coach or a mentor is somebody who can come in and advise you and guide you. A mentor is there to help give you ideas at the 10,000-foot level. A club coach is there to help with getting you the goals of having you get things done that will achieve that success. And again, go to your area director or program quality director for assistance with this. And you can get a club coach or a mentor fairly quickly. There's a lot of incredible members who are available and want to help. You may notice I didn't put direct links to any of these things because with every challenge that you might have, you need to do something. You need to kind of get up and look around. And it's the looking around and understanding what's there and having to look for these things that you're going to find more and more that you will be very surprised that can help you. So it's a journey to go through these things and figure it out. I don't want to have to, you're here to get some help. I'm giving you the help. You got to take the next steps to go further. And remember this about the DCP points. It's a reflection of how you are servicing your club. It shouldn't be the primary goal, but it's for the members. It's not about the goal, but celebrate it as you go. We're now at 8 points. We're about to get our 9th points in our club and get our 17th straight President's Distinguished Club. And it feels great. And it feels great when you tell the members, hey, we're almost at this goal and all we need is someone to get a level 2. And when they hear that, that feels really good and they become a part of it and helps you they have a bigger goal too to help achieve. And it really does get things going. So what we're going to do now is now that we've covered off all the basics of what the DCP is and why we're here, we're going to share things. I'm going to get out here and get the panel involved. And I'm going to ask some questions around. Before we get moving, though, are there any questions right now on the structure of what is DCP and what those points mean?
There are no questions currently in the chat.
Perfect. Thank you. So thank you, panel. I'm glad you're here to go through this. And thank you. Of course, the panels don't matter if you don't have attendees, and anyone viewing, watching afterwards. Thank you very much. Now we're going to start off on, of course, the DCP. And as I pointed out, in order to attain the DC points, you have to think about your member experience first. You focus on the members and the points will come. It's kind of like that saying, you know, take care of the cents and the dollars take care of themselves. This is the same kind of thing. You help your members and the DC points will get there. I'd like to go first to Dennis Kelly. Dennis, what do you think of that paradigm? What do you think of that, you know, start at the bottom and work your way up in terms of DCP?
Thank you, Jason. It is absolutely critical that we pay particular attention to all those small details. They are the cornerstone, the foundation for current and incoming members to get familiar with the club, learn the process, and from that, you build upon greater confidence for them in their respective roles, be it introductory roles of grammarian or timekeeper. The confidence begins to grow, and each of those, like the smaller cents that you alluded to, bolsters the confidence to take on a more aggressive role within each meeting, becoming more proficient speakers, and ultimately perhaps participating in the executive. But that foundation, which I think we do a very good job at, is very critical for the success of our club.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. Patrice, when you became president of the club and you saw the DCP board, the points, what approach did you take to trying to get those points?
Funny enough, it's a similar approach that I took for the VP PR role this round, but the biggest one, and I was grateful, I had some very strong mentors to help me through the executive role, especially taking on the president. I think I was only second year as a member, and that was, you know, throw the hat in the ring, just go after it, say yes and figure it out afterwards. Such a strong team behind me. I believe Dennis Kelly was you I was taking, right? Yeah, so he was our immediate past president, so that's always useful. Brian Bridgman was still part of it, which was amazing. And the big thing, it was Brian that mentioned to me, Patrice, look at it as a whole year. So plan it out. So work out, okay, recognize where are the big events taking place throughout the year. Air market then, or save the date roughly about the contest dates, about the open houses. So you map it out in that year, because you only have 12 months, map it out. And then as the club president, it was very important to set our intentions early and share it with everybody. So you get the buy-in with the executives, everybody agreed, great, then we sell it to the membership. And from that, everybody had this bigger picture that we were aspiring to achieve. And I felt that in my year, that was what led to that success.
Right. Thank you. Lynn, and when you became president and it was your time to guide the club in getting the DCP points, what was your experience in did you have to make goals to try to get them? How did you approach that situation?
Thank you. Well, when I was president, it seemed like a billion years ago. So I'm trying to remember. I think that what I experienced being president was, I also, as Patrice said, I had a very strong VP of education, a very strong executive, but specifically a very strong VP of education, which was my joy and luck. And I think that when she and I worked together with it, we thought about also, as Patrice said, about sharing it with the club membership, is also explaining to them similar to what JD did at the beginning, is explaining to them what's a DC point, why is it important, and also that it's not all about that, but it is, you as a member can participate in literally making this club successful. And this is a way that we measure that. So I think that when we say that to our members and get them to understand, wow, when I finish this path, it's not just great for me, it's great for my club. And then I can be equally as proud saying, I'm from Ajax Pickering Toastmasters, and they have done this in this many years. And not to say that that means that a struggling club or a small club that can't even do DCP points yet is not also equally valuable and valid. But we're all on this journey. And I just found as VP of Education, when I did that role and president, that when you share it with the members and make them feel proud to be part of achieving those points, it made it even more special for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And it's true, because when we have that tracker, you saw that little temperature gauge, and we use that barometer or thermometer or whatever it might be, whenever we utilize that for our DCP points, and Patrice is utilizing that right now in our newsletters, it lets the members see and track for themselves, and they become a big part of it. Dennis, I go back to you again. Did you utilize that with the members at all? And did you have to, as president, VP of Education, whatever, did you ever utilize that in terms of, hey, by the way, if you get this, the club gets that? Or you actually, I think as the president, when I was a VP of Public Relations, you actually gave me that idea of using that and had us share that so that people got involved. But what was your thoughts at the time of letting people know and becoming a part of it?
Thank you again. And when I was president, it was my privilege to map out at that time everyone's progress. And this was in the dark days when it was only the legacy program. And in development of that, I had created a chart that I was able to display in the club every week, showing each member's progress and where they are in the respective CC or the Advanced Leader Program. And at a glance, you got a real good indication, okay, they've done 4 speeches or 7 speeches, or they're only 2 speeches away from completing the Competent Communicator. And it was a great motivator for that speaker, but also, I think, a powerful visual presentation for every member to see that, hey, our club is really strong. Somebody's performing excessively well here, and somebody else has really picked up the slack there. So it became an easy way for me to show everyone how good they are. And then at the completion of each educational success that earned us a point, that barometer came into play that, okay, we've got 3 now. We only need 2 more to get to this. We only need 3 more to get. So that progress seemed to be a good motivator and a good recognition that kept the club inspired through the entire year. And as Patrice alluded, when there was a particular event coming up, it was all the more reason, hey, if you participate here, this is what's going to happen for you and for the rest of the club. So get on your game. I think was a good platform, and it's evolved through the years to where you have it now. And I hope it keeps going, because it has served us well.
And it's funny because, to put it in context, we had 45 members that you had to track. So that was almost wallpaper. We had to have this displayed at all of our club meetings. You know, you go and you check out your name and you see where you're doing, and then you sometimes get into a bit of a competition with somebody. Oh, you're almost there. Let's see who does it. And Patrice, you had a competition one time to see about getting further along in your education, and that contributed to a number of points in our DCP success, didn't it?
Are you asking me that question? Yes.
Yeah. I mean,
yes.
How did you feel about that?
So at the end of the day, there are different personality types, and different personality types make up different clubs, etc. And some of us we're a little bit competitive, but it's not so much about the competition, but it's about, if I consciously made a choice to join a club that provides the education of communication and leadership skills, it means I have to show up. And if somebody else is showing up the same way as me, we almost work off of each other. And that's the thrill of it, right? And they're also cheering you on. So that's also a thrill. And coming back to the tracking, I think it's so important from a human nature perspective. You're being not necessarily held accountable in a way that you might if you're hiring out a coach, etc., but you are being monitored or you are being supported to achieve your goals. So if you put that intention out there, all of a sudden you have people that you almost feel obliged to or committed to, or they care. I matter. My success matters. And I think when we show up the way we do at Toastmasters, we're expressing that to each other. We do care. We are rooting for you. And I think all of what we've just shared as a collective is how the members recognize that, because their success does matter on the individual level, because it ultimately it's for everybody's success. I love, again, we look at this from a community perspective. The best way to support a community is start with the individual. Because if that individual is feeling supported and feels they're surrounded, they're going to contribute better to the community. So it always starts with the individual.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Absolutely. And for the record, she was competing against me and she kicked my butt. So that, just full disclosure on that one. If someone's ever sitting off buying her a coffee or a beer or something like that, and they just say, by the way, who was that? Yeah, it was me. So don't worry about it. And to your point, it's good to track those things, because then you're right, well, not just everybody can be a part of it, but then it's also easier to know who needs the help.
Yes.
And when it comes to mentorship, and I'm going to go to Lynn next, and when it comes to mentorship and how does that tracking help where the members going, not just, so let me rephrase this. The DCP points is a great way it's a report card on how you're doing as a club. But when we think about individuals, they don't get that necessarily, that report card in such a way. So the tracking is in a way that helps be a report card for the members so they can see where they're at and what they're doing. As a mentorship chair, and as someone who's been a mentor to many of the people who've got us those DCP points, Lynn, how do you feel about the tracking, and how does it help from an executive level or from a mentorship, we'll say from the mentorship chair level? How does that help with what you're doing in the members below, not above, actually?
Well, I think that I've asked Dennis is our VP of Education this year, and I've asked him a couple of times, where this person is or where that person is. And the document that I created as mentorship chair to the membership really outlined what responsibilities you have as being a mentor and a mentee. And one of the things that I've talked to especially new mentors about is you do have to be aware of where your mentee is on the path. Some of my mentees are further along than I am, just because of the whole legacy pathway split and flip. And that's fine too, but just to be aware of where they are in order to cheer them on and support them in a way that is helpful to them. For example, if someone is really close to a designation and they need your help a little bit more urgently in the next couple of weeks because of that, because they're trying to get there and they're trying to get there for their club. You just as a mentor need to be aware of that so that you can be more available and help them. Things like that. And I've just made the mentors aware of that you should be really cognizant of where your mentees are. Many of them are starting out. Many new mentors have mentees that are just starting out and they're walking a path that we've already walked. But some, as I said, are further ahead than you as a mentor. And that's okay too. Your expertise is still needed and your support is still needed. So being aware, absolutely, of where they are in their journey is key.
Yeah. And having that structured mentorship program that allows you to, it does allow you to track and know where to help when you need that help. So in order to get, of course, now a big theme of this is making sure that members are successful, but in order to have members get success, you need to have successful meetings. And as whether it's back when I was helping in the the struggling clubs or doing the VP of PR club officer training, which I've done a lot. I always say that there's two things that you need to have a successful Toastmasters meeting: education and fun. And if you're doing something in your meetings that don't meet one of those two criteria, you got to get it out. It's got to go. Meetings, and we're talking this executive meetings too, because executives get burnt out easily. But if you don't have it educational and fun, members aren't going to stick around. They're going to be more likely to go because, you know, it's just not helpful for them. And I've seen it before, whether we're talking meeting minutes. Some clubs decide, you know, we need to have our meeting minutes during the, or they have the executive meetings during the regular meeting. And these are not things that regular members are going to find helpful for them. And it may save some time or whatever else, but if you have the members stuck in that and having to think about those things that they're not there for, they're not going to stick around. And I've seen that repetitively in clubs that are struggling. And so I'm going to rotate a little bit in the order. Patrice, when it comes to successful club meetings, what would you say is, I mean, obviously that's just two fairly broad categories, but what do you think about that idea of just education and fun being a part of the meetings?
Well, it's 100% my personality type. It has to be something I'm enjoying in order to stick around, and therefore I'm more receptive to learning. And so I agree with that. I think Ralph Smedley said it best. That's how it all started. And absolutely, because again, it boils down to those different personality types. But I don't know if you wanted more with regards to that question, because when you talk about education and fun, yes, I agree. If that's a statement that you want, yes, I agree. If you're asking, well, how can you make it more fun? Yeah. Okay, or in such a way that it keeps things on time for successful meetings, agenda, keeping and allowing for an opportunity to freely speak, either at the beginning or the end, and keep more structured in the middle where we're doing the reports, etc. And I think that's what works very well with our club. And of course, with everything else, I love that even in our Zoom meetings, after the official meeting has ended, you leave the Zoom room open, that if anybody wants to casually stay a little bit longer and just chat, how are things going? How did you feel about that speech? Because we don't get those opportunities, especially now on online platforms, to do that, to check in with the individual who's just had that experience, where we do have that in live occasions. And again, many of us at our meetings, when we're meeting in person, we still didn't just run off. We didn't just show up at the meeting and run off. A few of us would stay behind, have a chat. It's almost like diffusing it, right? Getting to the person behind the experience. And I think that's where that fun element, when we're talking fun, we don't necessarily mean ha-ha all the time. We're saying that allows the person to just be the person, not just a Toastmaster member, right? So I agree with the statement, and that's how I feel.
Thank you. Lynn, when it comes to having fun at meetings, I mean, you whether it be your rhyming or some of the humor that you interject into the meetings, what do you think about the fun aspect of especially in an online situation, what do you think is important to do to make sure that you have a fun meeting?
Well, I think it's critical, absolutely. And I think that the fun part, as Patrice said, by fun, we don't mean we're not taking it seriously and we're not doing it well. By fun, we mean that it's enjoyable. And I think it's key because so many people come to Toastmasters with debilitating fear of public speaking, some just with, oh my gosh, I have to speak in front of groups at work all the time, and I'm really bad at it, and I want to be better at it. They already have some skills, but they go through that. So there's a lot of anxiety and fears when people actually take the courageous step to even show up at a Toastmasters meeting. Never mind signing up, just to show up takes a lot of courage for a lot of folks. So I think if we make it too serious and too technical, and we're going to go through the exec meetings and all that stuff people get at work, they don't need that at this place where they're going to trust this group of strangers with their fear. And so we need to make it fun, we need to make it joyful, and we need to make it a safe place so that they can mess up. They can ask questions that they think are so stupid, but they're not. They're just because they're beginning, you know, and those types of things. I think that's what we mean by fun, is safe and enjoyable, where they leave the meeting, whether it's on Zoom or in person, and they go, wow, that was really hard for me to do, but I'm really glad I showed up. These people are cool, or they really get that this is hard for me. Because many of us, that's when we started. It was really hard. So I think that's why I believe of your statement, JD, that the fun is so key. And it's just, to me, it's the joy. It's absolutely key.
No, absolutely. Thank you. And that is a big part of it. And Dennis, you are a very accomplished speaker. You are so good when you speak that a lot of our guests look at you and say, oh my God, you know, this is the quality you got to be at to be in here. And I don't know if you've heard that yourself, but we say, no, but this is the quality that you get when you get to be here. But you're a great example of that. You are very polished and very professional feeling speaker, but when you have the opportunity to throw a little bit of fun in there, you help break that down. How do you feel about being one of those, with your experiencing being Toastmasters and drawing that balance between getting this done, but also being a little bit of fun?
I'm so glad this is being recorded, for all those kind words. Thank you very much. What I think I try to approach each meeting as though it were not quite the icebreaker, but a little bit beyond that, because I continue to be learning and growing with every meeting, and I hope every attendee is as well. But I want to make sure that we take the edge off for anybody who's, well, maybe kind of, sort of, should I speak? I'm really not good at this, and how can I? He's been doing this for 4 years, and she's wonderful on that topic. Oh, for goodness sake, everyone starts with the icebreaker. And I think that's probably one of the keys, as Lynn spoke to a minute ago, of having the fun, because it is a shared familiar journey. And trust me, we know what you're going through. I really struggled with the first 2 speeches, 5 speeches, 8 speeches, and then suddenly the light bulb went off and I realized I can do this. So whatever it took to get to that comfort level, that's what the team in your club is trying to impart to you, that we extend that familiarity and that comfort and that support. You are among friends, you are among colleagues, you are among a group of fellow learners who want to see you succeed. And I don't care if you hiccup 2 times, 100 times, 1,000. The whole idea is to learn. And each year, you'll get more and more comfortable. As an aside, our distinguished president was kind enough to say that we are 16 years a President's Distinguished Club. I've been a member 16 years. Coincidence? I think not, but I put that out there.
Thank you, Dennis. And this is important also, if you think about the fact that it's not just the member experience, but it's also the guest experience. If the guest comes in and they get the feeling that it's very rigid or tough, or, you know, they don't see that balance between, oh yeah, you have this professionalism of this, but you're still able to have a little bit of fun, guests may not feel like they can show up. Patrice, what do you think about what's important in having a successful meeting that draws the guests in and gets them to come back? Sorry. That one's a little
like, you
little
know,
freeforming on that one.
The wheels in the brain are turning. What gets them interested in coming to a meeting? Okay, maybe it's an internal something. Somebody says, maybe you tried Toastmasters, so they come and they join. When they enter, it's the warmth and welcoming that exudes from our club that I've seen, and other clubs that I've seen, that first of all, they feel welcome. A smile, a greeting, and we do that really well, both in person and online. As people are signing in, we're recognizing them by name. That's huge. One of the sweetest sounds, I've heard this said before, sweetest sounds in person's ear is the sound of their name being said out loud. So we do that. We recognize them by name. We ask for their input. We ask them for their feedback. we invite them to come back. We don't even say, hey, if you want to join, we actually say, hey, if you want to learn more, feel free to come back as a guest as many times as you like. So we're not even adding that extra pressure sale of you've got to join, what, you know. We also ask them open-ended questions in, well, how did you find out about us? What is it that you're hoping, or what is it that you're looking for? So we ask those type of open-ended questions. We're already expressing interest to a complete stranger who, as Lynn says, I think we also very much identify for them automatically. Wow, it took courage. Good on you. And already that boosts their, oh, you recognize that. Yeah, I was terrified. And all of a sudden everything, you know, they open up more to the whole experience and that invitation to return over and over again. So you ask that question, that would be my observation of why they come back. And a lot of them have expressed that. We felt welcomed, we felt invited, and we had fun. A lot of them say that was a really fun meeting. So there you go.
Oh, it is important. The fun isn't just, especially nowadays that we're online, it's more important to have that fun and make it as fun for a guest, not just the members, because you do need, but for a guest to show up. If you're going to go through the process of having a campaign to try to get people there, you know, your open house or just whatever is going on, you want to make sure it's fun and enjoyable, not just fun. Again, I said education and fun. Lynn, when it comes to guests coming in and you know, and you see a guest coming in, what are some of the things that you try to do to make sure that their experience is matching what the club's members' experience is?
Well, I think it's different. It's obviously for all of us, it's different on Zoom than in person. We, as a leaders, made sure somebody was at the door to greet guests. Many clubs do that. But also, I think that as becoming a Toastmaster, I've been a Toastmaster for 15 years, and part of the confidence of being a Toastmaster is being confident to walk up to a stranger and to do it in the safety of a Toastmasters meeting. It's my club, not theirs right now. So I would probably feel more comfortable sticking out my hand when we could shake hands and introducing myself and welcoming them to my house. It can soon become their house too, but I think that that's expected when a guests walk into any scenario that they are a guest, that initial first meeting of 1, 2, 3, however many people, I think that our club does very well. But translate that to Zoom. Some clubs that I've been to on Zoom maybe have not translated that well enough in terms of when you're in this box, you've got all these people in this box, and if no one's saying anything, it's very quiet. And if it's a guest arriving for the first time, they may feel, am I supposed to say something? Oh my gosh, and I'm going to just give a shout out to Patrice, because she is the best in our club of filling that air, whether it's on a break or just saying, hey, hi, Sean, I've never met you before. How are you? Where, how do you come to us? Is this your first time? Just little tiny questions that it takes a split second, but it breaks that quiet that could create more nervousness for a guest, where they think, am I supposed to say something? What am I supposed to be doing here? Instead of just an in-person conversation where someone just walks up to you, shakes your hand and says, hey, how are you? You can sit over there. I always joke, don't sit at the head table, we'll give you a job. You know, using humor to make them feel comfortable. So I think that's key for guests, both in person and on Zoom. But to Patrice's point, the other thing that we do, two things she mentioned. One is we used to have pub night on the last Wednesday of the last meeting of the month, and we would go to a pub, whoever wanted to. And we started that on Zoom. JD said, okay, last meeting of the month, it's pub night, and we'd all stay and chat. But we now do that, as Patrice said, we do that anyway at every meeting. And we've used it as space and time for guests to stay on. And maybe they do feel like they have a dumb question that they didn't want to ask in front of 15 people, but they'll ask in front of 5. Yeah. And we use that space and that time to sort of give a bigger hug and make them feel even more welcoming. The other thing that we always do, and I think it's just being a responsible Toastmasters club, is encourage them to go see other clubs. We love our club. We think we're awesome, and we love our family within our members, but there's other awesome clubs. And we always stress to a guest that you need to find that energy that is right for you. For some people, it may be a small club. For some people, it's a bigger club. So we always encourage guests, and as Patrice said, we say, come back as many times as you want, but we also encourage them to seek out other clubs and see what fits you best. Because at the end of the day, it's what's right for you that is key.
Yeah, absolutely. And a big part of it is also, in my view, transitioning. And we've got a program or process right now, and we're going to do process in a little bit, but this ties in, everything ties in. When a guest, our VP of Public Relations, Patrice, puts it all out there, and she's our first point of contact through our website and other places, and they contact her and say, hey, I'm going to come out. Patrice gives them some, a guest package, or if she's not able to, when they get there, the VP of Membership provides the guest package. And here's some information about the club. And we do that handoff that Lynn was saying, that, hey, here's what we're about. And then, by the way, if you're interested in getting started, VP of Membership is the one that say, let's get started. And here's the treasure. You send the money information there. And then when they're done and they've got their thing, the transition goes to the VP of Membership in towards the VP of Education and the mentorship chair to then try to onboard between the three of them, set up this transition from a guest to becoming a member. And Dennis, in that process, we've done this on and off, and we've done it actually fairly well this year. How do you find that helps with members and new members in terms of they were a guest and now they're getting going? How have you found that transition, that warm handoff between the executives?
Thank you. I think this year in particular, it's worked exceedingly well, probably because of our combined experience, and we set this up ahead of time that this is what the protocol should be, and not without a few hiccups, but in the majority, it has gone very smoothly, that we have a visitor who has expressed interest, who has joined, who has paid, who has now become familiar with, okay, who are my mentors? Great. And then once that's established, what role should I be taking on? So by the time it filters to yours truly, I have a better indication what their personality style, what their comfort level is, and we can start them off with some of the more gentle roles to get more familiar with the club. And as we've often expressed, every role at every meeting is important. It is always a speaking role in some way, shape, or form. So you're never going to be at a loss for an opportunity to say a few words. But I think what it has done is it has been a great gradual baptism, orientation, inauguration for them to see and be part of all the different roles. We've had a couple of people who have come forward. I want to speak next week, and the week after that, and the week after that, and the week after that. Whoa, time out. You need to understand how the club operates, and we need to ensure that as many people as are interested in speaking get that opportunity. There will always be, I need a timer, I need 2 more evaluators, I need all of those roles to be fulfilled. But the whole Toastmaster experience, the whole Toastmaster journey is to experience and become comfortable in each and every one of those roles. And this year, I think we've done that very well with seasoned speakers taking on roles, but not necessarily always senior roles. And some of the new members coming in have been gradually moving up the ladder to take on more involved roles, more speaking roles, more active engagement with table topics, for instance. And that overall experience, I think, has been very powerful. And to Patrice's point, it's been very fun for them to see, oh, hey, I can do this. I like this. Yeah. It's made for an ongoing fun environment.
Nice. Moving on to the moments of truth. And this is, if you're not familiar with it, it's it's a session that there's some guidelines provided by Toastmasters. It's a really good program that you run through it as an executive, and it's a way of finding out what the members' experience is in the club. And it's also good to understand what the guests' experience is in the club. And it's this really, really well thought out exercise for clubs to do to see where they're at in terms of how they're successful they are in terms of providing something good. Patrice, what's been your experience with the moments of truth in terms of how it's helped and what you've seen of it over the years?
100% what you just said. If you can incorporate that near the beginning of the new year, so every new executive coming through, it is strongly encouraged. Why? Because again, you can check the pulse of the membership. Where are they at compared to where they wanted to be? Again, it's an opportunity for their voices to be heard, because sometimes we cannot speak. As you mentioned, some clubs have 40 members, or they don't come on a very regular basis. So if you want to tap into your membership, it's a great opportunity to do so. It then allows you and as an executive group, especially the VP of Education, align with whatever their goals are. So again, it's getting their input into how they want to see the new year rolled out. And just to round that off, that point, the other reason I encourage it at least once a year, and typically at the beginning of that new executive year, is because your members have a turnover. So you're not going to see the same members year over year over year. There's going to be changes. And that I think is very important. So at least once a year, beginning of the term, definitely advisable.
Thanks. Lynn, with the moments of truth, we've been through it a number of times with our club, and I think you ran it. How do you follow up? You go through, you figure out, you ask the members questions, you get them in the groups, they find out specific questions about aspects of the club, and then it comes into the executive and says, okay, well, here's what we've got. How do you follow up on those?
Well, I think there's definitely a follow-up needed, absolutely. And why do all that work when you're not going to do anything with the information, right? So I think that's one of the key reasons for following up. But also the follow-up enables the members to understand that, okay, I sat through this panel and discussed all these things, and someone's actually going to do something with it. So follow-up, I think, on an executive can mean taking apart, maybe once the secretary has everything put together, maybe a few exec meetings or the next one after it's happened, to look at it, chunk it out, and maybe there's pieces of it that is specifically has to do with what the VP of Education does. And okay, Dennis, what do you think about how we can improve that? Or a certain percentage of our members have said this about mentorship. Lynn, what could we do about that? Because I really think that way the person doing the executive role at that time hopefully has some experience in the area, but if it's their first time, they have help within the executive. But to really just put it in their pocket for a little while and say, okay, you're doing the role right now. How do you think that feedback from Moments of Truth can help what you're doing? Can you tweak things? Or maybe the VP of Education, let's say if it's that person, can then explain to the club membership, this is why we don't do it that way. We do it this way, because in our experience, it works. So I just think a rendering of all the things that you find, and either giving it back to the executive roles individually and letting us then get back to the president, get back to the membership of how we use that information.
Right, absolutely. I'm going to switch a little bit here. I'm going to ask our Zoom master, Chris Nelson, also the PQD for the district. How does a club run a successful Moments of Truth? What would you think would be key to doing it and making it work right?
Initially, I would have said that this is something the club should do for themselves, and ideally with as many of the members available to offer input as possible. On the other hand, early this year, one of the things we did as a district trio was to go in and run sample Moments of Truth sessions for a couple of clubs, one that was thriving and one that was struggling. I found it was a very eye-opening experience to do that for a club with which I wasn't intimately familiar, because you see things and see alarm bells go off in a completely different way. We've talked a little about mentoring here, and one alarm bell that went off for me was with the struggling club who commented, "Oh, it's really hard for us to get mentors because our people don't want to commit that kind of time." And I thought, well, it doesn't have to take that much time. And I expressed that to them. And as we got talking, it turns out that in their minds, mentoring was a one-time relationship. You had a mentor, you stayed with that person for life. You didn't have an opportunity to work with new mentors. You outgrew a mentor and no longer needed one. And it was a vast time commitment. I think the greatest shock for them was realizing that I have mentors. And in fact, I have more than I did 5 years ago. They're just different people at different levels from whom I learned different things. And I'd like to think that my conversation with them about mentoring and what it can do for their club has been a helpful factor as they work to grow their own club this year. But I think having an outside perspective is important. And with that in mind, especially if you're a struggling club, when you go to do moments of truth, ask a few people to come in and help you. That could be a larger club that you have a relationship with who's got some stronger members. It could be individuals, it could be your area director or your division director. It's always okay to ask for help, and it's always good to remember that an outside perspective will see completely different things than what you see and observe inside your club. That's something your new members are going to notice as well.
Right. Thank you. We're going to get back to, I know there's been a question in the chat about mentorship, and we are going to focus on that a little bit, because before we get to that, I want to have a little bit of a lead in with the executives. And executives are always difficult things to run. When the club starts to lose members, they start to have members being on the executive for multiple terms, or maybe not even enough members to have a full executive, and things start to really gum up there. And one of the things Dennis Kelly did with our club was he took the executive meetings away from where we used to have them just before our regular meeting. And we always found we had no time to address all the session, everything that needed to be addressed, or we didn't realize we had to address more until we had other meetings. Dennis, what was it that had you really start to do something outside of that usual time slot? How did you find that, realize that was something that was needed, and how did you implement that?
Well, we're taxing memory here because that goes back a number of years when I was president. But I think what we found was most of the members of the executive were finding it really cumbersome to get there even an hour earlier than the regular meeting. And holy mackerel, I'm coming from downtown and this is going to be nuts. So it proved much more comfortable and advantageous to move it to one different day once a month. So whether that was a Thursday or Friday, I don't remember exactly, but the important part was to make sure we had an hour or 90 minutes or 2 hours occasionally, as was required, to fulfill everything that I felt we had to fulfill as an executive, and give each one of the members of my executive team an opportunity to address Simeon, what's going on as Sergeant at Arms? Brian, what's happening with education? Jason, what's happening with PR? And have everybody have the opportunity to give voice to their concerns and not feeling, oh, shoot, I got to get this in within the next 3 minutes. So that, I think, helped spawn greater comfort among all of the executives. And a couple of times during the course of the year, I was lucky enough to host a meeting at a restaurant, which I think, I like to think it was welcomed by the executive, but it also changed the dynamic a little bit to a less formal meeting structure and a little bit more fun, and kept the dynamics of the meeting without the constraints.
Right.
I hope that helps.
No,
But I made it through the year without being tarred and feathered, so that was my success.
Yeah, we banned that as a consequence in our club a few years ago.
Yeah, thank you
And
for that.
So Lynn, how important is it to have, you've been a part of many different executives, how important is the structure in an executive meeting to make it go well?
Well, it's really important. And if you are a Toastmaster executive that doesn't think it's important, just think of your work life. If you go to a meeting and it's not structured well, you feel like it's a waste of your time, correct? And if you are running a meeting and you're not organized and you don't have it structured, you feel like you're wasting other people's time, but also that you are using up so much more time than you could have gotten it done. And I mean, we are learning leadership as well as public speaking. And part of that is when you are going to take on an exec role and then either participate or run executive meetings, you are doing yourself and your executive clubmates a favor by having a really structured, well-run meeting. Everybody walks away feeling, okay, I can do this. I can do this exec role. I had time to be heard, like Dennis was saying, but also it was very smooth. And I didn't feel like we were going around in circles and, oh my gosh, I got to get home and put the kids to bed. You know, you can feel that the time that you're putting in is valuable time. The other thing though, I was going to mention when Dennis was talking about putting the exec meeting on a different time is also when you were trying to, and I've done both executive meetings, been in executives where the meeting was before the regular meeting and not. And what I found was being an executive and being in a meeting right before, if I had a head table role, my brain was not on what I was supposed to be presenting. It was, okay, I got a chair in 10 minutes. Okay, do I have the agendas? Do I have the And it's kind of half your brain is doing that because you've got to do that in 7 minutes or 10 minutes. And oh, I've got to tell exec of what I'm doing with my role. So I think separating it out, Dennis's idea was brilliant a few years ago because it really freed us as an executive, freed us up to really get into the work and get it done and have time to be heard and have time to hear each other.
Right, thank you. Angela had a question, I think it was about executives. Angela? You're on mute right now.
Well, yeah, actually, I have multiple questions. I didn't want to disrupt the speaker, so I gather all my questions, make notes to when it's time for the question and answer period. So
we are going to open up in a couple of minutes. Open up to full out questions, okay. But do you have something specific about executives?
No. It's just I just want to let you know that it's just okay. Okay, I can ask something about the executives. Like how often would you have executive meetings? Would it be
monthly?
Monthly?
It's actually in the Club Success Guide. It's a part of the role to have monthly meetings. And even if you're a small club, you need to have those meetings in order to make sure that you have you're managing it. And there's going to be changes that'll happen over months. There's changes that happen in society, changes that happen within your club, changes that you want to address quickly. And as was pointed out, having the time to address them, having it set aside to address the meeting, all the problems, and each of the executives to have a chance to talk without having to worry about next meetings or anything else, allows you to get to more deeper problems and talk about them in more length. And I'd like to ask Patrice to comment on what you think about having monthly meetings and how important it is for that.
Thank you. Angela, great question, because a lot of people, again, I find that when we jump into some of these roles, and especially as we're learning this whole process, a couple of things is that leadership book that JD's mentioning really gives some great checklists, some great guidelines on running successful meetings and everything else. The other thing that I discovered when I took on the role is that a lot of our governance on how we run the meetings and how the Toastmasters, the whole concept is set up is Robert Rules. Dennis, am I saying it correctly? Is that what it is?
Rules of order, yeah.
Yes, Robert. And honestly, we implement that year over year. We've refined the process. One of the things that I absolutely love, and what JD, he's absolutely correct, why that monthly meeting is so important. We incorporate an action step plan. So as each of us report on our role and what we're working on, each meeting now is about what did we accomplish that we said that we were going to accomplish? What are we currently working on? And where do we need the support? So if we have something big coming like a charter party or an open house and we need all hands on deck, then that person who's responsible is, okay, yeah, I might need to set up a committee. I might need to pull in some of the executives, things like that. So those meetings, because it's a month to month, is just like the bigger picture of things. If you wait till the end of the year to try and fix problems, then there's no opportunity for solving a problem and being able to adjust in order to meet those success plans. So I love the structure of the meeting. Each one of us has a set amount of time. This is also very important. So part of the agenda item is having a set amount of time to do our reports. So keeping it succinct, keeping it very on point. It also streamlines the meeting. And at the end, we do a similar open now if there's any other business to address that anyone else is dealing with. But we look at role per role first in a set time, and then we open up at the end.
Yeah,
For
if I
any-
can interject here, I think Dennis mentioned that, not to really constrict the executives' feedback, to give them as much time as possible. Did I read you correctly, Dennis, on that comment? And not
Yeah.
really a time frame to allocate for that feedback, or?
You did, Angela, and thank you. And to Patrice's point, yes, there is typically a more formal time limit because we don't want to be spinning off in all directions. However, from month to month, meeting to meeting, there may be a point where she has 11 PR items on the agenda that need to be brought to our attention. So she may need a little bit more time. Conversely, on occasion, yours truly, everything's running smoothly. Thank you very kindly. Let's keep going. So there's that ebb and flow within each meeting. And for the most part, it tends to balance out. But as much as we are able, we do try to stay on point and on topic and on time.
Yes,
Do
and
you
as-
have do you have a moderator for your meeting so that you don't go and run out of time or in a rat hole, go through a rat
That's-
hole?
The president is
President does
the
that?
chair of the meeting. Yeah, the president, the club president is the CEO of the club, and they're responsible for the governance of the executive meetings more than anything, more than the regular meetings.
Okay, so you
But-
don't have a separate moderator, the president?
No, the president open. I open up with a just talk about where we're at, where we've changed from. Then we adopt our meeting minutes from last one, and then each member of the executive has a set amount of time in order to address what they had to before, the to-dos from the last meeting, and what's coming up in the next role. And then at the end, we have the open session. And as Sean pointed out, the great thing now is that we're online for our executive meetings. And he pointed out in the chat, and yeah, being online allows us to not have to take up extra time for travel and different types of management. We can do it all very quickly and efficiently. And I think that's going to make club executives more effective going forward and allow them to do them on a different date and not have to, because when we go back to in-person meetings, they should not be a part of our regular meetings, and they can have this, you can have open discussions and talk about the difficulties without having those things exposed. And actually, I want to go to Patrice, because Patrice, in this regard, with a club executive, you had to deal with a difficult situation in your term as president. And I don't want you to go into the details about it, but the methodology in how you approached solving the problem, what was that like?
It was a growing experience. No, I, again, felt supported, leaned a lot on more experienced club members, dug deep. This is why I'm so grateful for bylaws that are in place and the Toastmaster International guidelines. So our first point of how to address the issue, we went into the Toastmaster guidelines. Then we looked at because each club has slightly different bylaws, we can vote those in, and those year over year help. And it's why we do the things we do. And a lot of people are not even really aware of this, but one reason why we vote members in is because it gives you an opportunity to vote members out. And there are sometimes situations that come up that can prove detrimental to clubs if it's not sorted. So the first point was addressing what's the situation, asking the question, what will happen if it continues? Because what was happening was it was creating a ripple effect and quite a rift on a whole. Then looking into what's Toastmasters guidelines around this or rules around this, because they had very specific rules. And then looking at our bylaws. As an executive, we were able to address the situation on an executive level and give options. And I thought at the end of it all, it ran smoothly. I think it could have blown out of, it could have gotten really horrible, but it actually went about really constructively and smoothly because of those systems and processes in place. And that's where that support came in. And regarding extra meetings, as Sean said, sure, if this is out of the norm of what a typical executive and it's an actual issue, or if it's a big event that we might have, you have other buy meetings that are specific to that situation or that event. So that's how that was handled. And we still ended up as an amazing year overall. So it was a hiccup.
You know, you made it work well. And that collaboration and the cooperation is the biggest thing, because and situations are all different. You can't always manage it as well, but involve your area director, involve other people. That's the best thing. We're going to open things up. We're a little behind in both content, what we wanted to deliver, but also whatnot. But what we're going to do is we're going to send it off. We're going to ask Go questions, and I'm actually having a little bit of lag time, so I'm going to mute. Let Chris ask the question from the chat and address it.
Thank you, JD. Our first question is from Sean, and it's on mentorship. Do you automatically assign a mentor to each new member or offer to incoming members as an option? Do you allow them a choice of available mentors? And Lynn, I feel like you're a great starting point for that.
Thanks, Chris, and thanks, Sean, for the great question. Yes, as the mentorship chair, and we've again had this ongoing for a few years, this position, but this year I'm doing a little bit different things with it. And one of the things is I'm going to every single member, whether they've been here 10 minutes or 10 years, and asking them if they would like a mentor. And to answer the one part of your question, Sean, what we've been doing is inviting that person, whether it's again as a new person or an existing club member, and I say to them, can you give me 3 or 4 names of members who you would feel comfortable in a mentorship relationship? And then I make sure I tell them that why I want you to give me 3 or 4 names is because that person might not be available if you just give me one name. So 3 or 4 or 5 people. And then I know that those are folks that they have felt a connection with, whether it's just when they were a guest and like, oh, Patrice is so full of joy, I want to work with her, or Dennis is so eloquent, I'm a writer, I want to work with someone like that. So it gives them an opportunity to have some feedback or have some input into that decision. But I do explain to them that they may get one of those people, or if let's say all of those people are not available, it's someone else. And then what I do is I go to my list of how many mentees a specific person has, because a number of years ago, before we set up this structure with mentorship, we had 1 or 2 people in our club who were mentoring everyone. And many of you know Marilyn Latchford, and she's fantastic and has been with our club, or was with our club for years and years. And it seemed that Marilyn was mentoring everybody. And she's fantastic and is an excellent mentor. But not only is that not fair to her, but it's not fair to all of the mentees as well, because they're getting one perspective. So I made sure that in the list of my mentors, for example, if someone wanted Dennis, I would go to Dennis's list of mentees and say, okay, he's already got 4 people. This is not fair to him, nor is it fair to someone like Errol, who it's going to be his first time mentoring. Because he had never been asked, he maybe thought, maybe I don't have enough years in, maybe that kind of thing. So I was trying to take the mentees' list of suggestions, go to my list of mentors, see where everyone was standing in terms of number of people, and then introduce to that mentee, you know what, Patrice is available and JD is available. Who would you like me to ask? And then that way, or some mentees, I've said, you know what, the 3 people you chose, they've already have too many mentees or enough mentees that they can't really give you the time right now? Can you think of anyone else? Or you know what? I've noticed the 2 meetings that you've come to, that I've noticed an energy between you and Chris. How about Chris? You know, and they may, oh yeah, I remember her. Yeah, she was really nice. That kind of thing goes on. And then I assign that person to the mentee. That's how I think. I'm not sure. I think I answered all your questions, Sean. Okay.
Thank you, Lynn. Our next question is also from Sean, and it's about sharing the DCP with members. His question is, do you share the entire point system or just the barometer? Do you single out or give recognition to those adding points for the club?
I'll start with that in terms of, yes, everybody should understand how it works, because eventually they're going to be on the executive. And so you want everyone, and when everybody's involved, I've heard some people ask, well, do we tell them that a part of what we do is ask for new members and try to get new members? Yeah, you need to, because otherwise people leave and you don't. But having them share in the experience gives them all, they know what they're doing. There's nothing that you want to hide. It's all out there. But the barometer is just a simple way of showing everybody, and it's a quick thing. And we measure and we say our successes as a part of our newsletter. Patrice puts in who's achieved what success, in not just about, they've achieved, that level 1, but they put out this podcast, and maybe it's because of their role, or we welcome these new guests, and welcome these new members, and we try to make everybody feels a part of the whole. And what I'd like to do is actually ask Dennis about this in terms of, because you kicked that off in terms of asking me about doing that in my newsletter. How have you found over the years that that's actually, they've responded, both as a president and as a VP of education?
Thank you, and what a good question. And I found the education that we've provided for the DCP has been very helpful, because when I first heard it in the first year I was there, what does that stand for? I was really perplexed at the acronym, and when it was finally spelled out and then broken down, originally by Richard Rainford, if I remember, who took the time to walk through, it was slightly different at the time because it was on the legacy program, but he said, you get this many points for doing this many points for doing that, and this many points for doing that. It made me appreciate a little bit better that every one of us, through 1 speech, 5 speeches, however many, we're contributing to our own success, but importantly to the success of the club, to the area, to the district, and beyond. So knowing that, maybe a very small part of it, but I was a contributor. And then to be able to see the progress through the year with the barometer at 2 points, and then 3 and 5, etc., was really exciting, because, hey guys, look, we're all making a difference here. Here's what's happening. This year, for yours truly, Pathways has been both terrifying and quite an eye-opener. But what it did was it forced me to modify some of that information to make it more palatable and presentable to the members. And I don't know if this will show terribly well from here, but about a month or so ago, I created this lovely chart, which is now evaporating in front of everyone's eyes. And essentially, it is a spreadsheet that took everyone's performance to date on Pathways and shows where they are, what path they're on, how many levels they've achieved. And what that's done is, when you get to the end of the level and it shows an educational achievement award, it's triggering responses that people are getting the certificate that, hey, way to go, you made level 2, good for you. It's another motivator, it's another incentive to keep going, and that ultimately transforms itself into more points in our educational ladder.
Right. Patrice, you've got your hand up. You want to add?
Say again?
Patrice has her hand up. She'd like to add to this?
Yes, I do. I just want to clarify the point I think Sean was asking too. In do we single them out, or do we showcase this to everybody? And I believe, Dennis, you did send a copy of that spreadsheet to the whole membership. And my understanding is, from VP of Education, or even as executive, we identify who might need some more encouragement or support. So that's when you do it's a sidebar. It's not it's not the whole membership, but everybody sees a copy of that spreadsheet, which was wonderful because it shows us where you are compared to the others. And when you're a little bit competitive and you have a side, you owe me a Coke, that kind of thing at the end of it.
Excellent. Yes. So thank you. Now there's another question in the chats, which is more for mentorship. Let Chris handle that.
Oh, I was going to say, Angela had some questions as well. Maybe you could get some of hers.
Okay. So it was one about mentorship and the structure of mentorship.
Yeah. Do you want to do Angela's questions first then, or cover this one quickly?
Well, since it's already on the table, we'll quickly get
Alright.
to this one then.
Sorry.
All
I don't want to.
It's okay. How do you structure
Right.
the mentorship relationship? Is it for a set time? How often do they meet, and so on?
Lynn, would you like to help with that?
Sure. What I think I mentioned a little while ago is I came up with a document for the club members, and it wasn't just for the mentors. I was going to send it to the mentors, and JD said, no, send it to everyone, because then the mentees can read it also, but also people who have not mentored yet can kind of get a sense of what it is. And it really just broke down how to build your relationship as a mentor. And it started off with a get to know you. I said, get a Zoom meeting together with your mentee. And I had two documents that one was questions to ask if someone's new and questions to ask if someone's an existing Toastmaster. And it was just questions that I had asked mentees through the years, what brought you to Toastmasters, or if they're already an existing member, how do you feel about how you're doing? And I also asked specific questions like, what members do you aspire to speak like? Who do you love to listen to and why? And I also asked, who do you not like to listen to and why? And it gave that mentor an idea of, I had one response from a mentee on that question as well. So she just kind of just doesn't really engage the audience. She just blabs out information. So for me, it said, okay, this person enjoys storytelling. They enjoy a speech that comes together and flows better. So you learn things by asking both sides of those types of questions. So that there was those types of documents, and then a structure of not only for us as a club, not only as a mentor, are you responsible for helping someone with a speech or a number of speeches, but also you're responsible for helping them do a head table role. Dennis talked about that. As VP of Education, he assigns a new person the grammarian and timer role. So there are head table role scripts that we've created at our club that are on our website. So we direct them to, the mentor should direct the person to those, help them be aware that, oh, Sarah is my new mentee and she's the timer this week. Reach out to that person and say, okay, how are you doing? Did you read the script? How are you feeling about it? Breathe in, breathe out, because a lot of people doing a head table role the first time are freaked out about it. So there's that mentorship of that. There's mentorship when someone decides, your mentee decides to be in a contest. How can I help you with that? Do you want me to read your speech? Do you want me to watch you on Zoom presenting it? Give that type of feedback. So there's this document sort of laid out the different steps of how to be a mentor. We also at the end talked about when your mentee might come to you and say, I think I want to move to a different mentor, a different member to be my mentor. I put in there, don't take this as an insult. This is actually a compliment, because you've done so much work with them that you've built them to a point where, okay, now I want to work with Dennis because I feel like my writing has just come such a long way. And I love the way he puts words together. And you just, I said in the document, you hug and wish them well. It's not like you're saying, oh, well, what's wrong with me? This is not about you. It's about that person. So that this document sort of entails how to become a mentor. Now, in terms of your question of how long do we expect mentors to mentor that person, it's within the legacy system. It was the first 3 speeches. And even in legacy, we had mentors that mentored you through your whole 10. It wasn't, okay, you done your third, see you later, I have no more time for you. And it just extended. And within pathways, you know, there's a certain spot in different paths where you can become a mentor and get acknowledgement for that. And one of them is you can be, it's kind of, I think it's called a short-term mentor, where you mentor a person on one project or one speech, and then also a longer term where it's more of a relationship. So really, in our mind as a club executive, we're training a lot of our club members by allowing them to learn how to mentor, to be completely ready for that part of their pathways journey. And it just builds camaraderie, and it builds relationships that are well beyond the meeting, because you've got these people off on the side meeting when so-and-so's on their fifth speech of this path, and they've got a cheerleader in the room. So that's sort of how we are structuring that whole process.
And it's, if I might add, it's important to keep that out in public so everyone sees it and it feels comfortable. It's not this nebulous thing that people can't understand. When they see a part of the process going on in the public, and they think, okay, a lot of people are guarded against having that mentorship, and they may not feel comfortable about letting people know, oh, I feel like I need a mentor. But when they see it out there and they see how it works, they don't think it's, I don't see, it's not taking that much time. It's something that anyone can do. And oh yeah, by the way, Warren Buffett has mentors. So yeah, when they have that. So our next question, Chris, we're going to have to wrap things up here because time is getting short, but what's our next question, Chris?
Let's move to Angela. I know she's been patiently waiting and saving a number of questions for us. And as a past District G Director, I know Angela is, sorry, Division G Director, I know Angela is going to have some good questions for us to look at.
Okay, so Angela?
Yes, thank you, Chris. Great seminar. The best of the best clubs, giving us all their tips and secrets, and I can see, why, from your talks and what makes your club so special. So thanks for that. I want to, like, during this time of COVID and also, pre-COVID, some clubs may have some problems with advertising themselves so that guests will attend their meetings. So how have you found like some effective ways to get members know that your club exists and to attend your meetings? Like, what are some of the things that works for you to even get them in the meeting so that we can show them, what a great club we have?
Well, as someone in public relations, this is part of my role, but I've also done the club officer training for the VP PR over 40 times. And one thing I say is always first thing is make sure your club is great. Make sure you address the situation so guests will feel welcome. Because I can get 50 to 500 people in your club, but if they're not happy with their experience, they're not sticking around. So that's always the first thing. Make sure that the guest experience is helpful. And the district has implemented a secret shopper program. It's not fully integrated, it's fully structured yet, but having a secret shopper, someone who's pretending to be a guest, and their whole idea is to tell you to give feedback as to what the experience was, so you can fix those things or adjust accordingly as to what may be needed to be addressed. Having that helps. But when you do get out there, when you want to put it out there, you have to have the message. What are you going to say? We've got club contests coming up. This is a great time to promote and say, hey, if you're interested in public speaking and seeing contests, we've got one right here, and it's free to join up and free to watch. And we're not, no pressure.
You know that your club exists. You advertise through Eventbrite, through
so the
newspaper, things like that.
Medium is always secondary because you want to make sure your message is first structured. What are you promoting and how are you promoting it? Do you want to promote to more people in their millennials or baby boomers? Do you want to professionals? Do you want to versus people who just have, maybe the English is a second language, maybe it's a bit of both. Your message is the most important part of it, more than the medium, because whatever medium, the medium actually becomes a part of the message. So if you want to get to millennials, you're probably not going to promote on Facebook. If you're looking at, we want to get some younger members in there, we're going to promote, how do you speak well when you're going to do a job interview? You need to think about who your message is for. And then you structure that message, and then you put it in the places where they're going to see it. But you also have to speak in
Where
terms
do
of,
you put it? Like, where do you put it then? Was it
again,
like-
what is your message? Is it
okay,
to professionals? Hey,
what does your club do?
we've got, let's say it's a professional. Hey, do you need to do, and you can do multiple different types of
Mhm.
PR campaigns. So if one of them is we're going to go after the professionals who have to speak for a living, then you're going to put that on LinkedIn, and you want to make sure that the because that's a very businessy way to place to put it. And people are in there for business. They're not putting up all the memes and jokes and TikToks and all that other stuff. They're there for business, and so that's a more appropriate place for them. If it is more for people who are, if it's a younger crowd that you're looking to attract, it'll be more of the TikToks or the Instagrams. And again, your message has to be directed. It should be specific message, not just, hey, we're here, but why do they care? What's in it for them? And that depends on who you're speaking to. Because again, if you're speaking to somebody who's almost, one of the things I found is there are many clubs that are held in long-term care residences, and what the people think, well, all we've got is just, we're just here and there's nobody here to promote to. People who are, first off, people in the home are great. They're going to be great members because they're already there. You already have a great for Sergeant at Arms because if there's a couple of things to carry, they've got, they can bring it in the right there. It's great for their mental health, for people to have something social and mentally challenging, and it's an awesome place for them. And there's no age restriction on Toastmasters. We've got some members who have been around almost as long as Toastmasters itself. And I'm looking at you, Tony Nelson. No, anyways, Tony's amazing. But the message is first in whatever you're doing. Because if you don't have a clear, concise message targeted to someone specific, you're not going to hit anyone specifically. And if it's not going to be specific to that person, that they're not going to, it's not about what you say, it's about what they hear and what's in it for them. And start with that, and then determine which medium is best. Patrice, you wanted to add in?
Yes, please. Just to add on to what you're saying, JD, and for Angela, as VP of PR, that's what we're learning as well. But what's remarkable is most of our guests are coming through word of mouth. So going back to that messaging, if we repeat that often throughout the meetings, we're helping our guests and our members repeat the same. So they're saying to their friends, oh yeah, I'm at the club. Yes, what I'm learning is leadership and communication skills. It's wonderful because we meet, it's the same. So what is the message? The other thing that they're going to, some of the things that you might mention, you talked about, well, if it's millennials, you look at universities and colleges, how can you create those synergies or strategic alliances with those specific groups? And then we see more of them coming in. So once you get clear on that message and you repeat it a few times through each meeting, it actually they start spreading it. The members start spreading it. So that's what I love about my role at this round. We're on Facebook, that's the most active one, but you will find us on most mediums. But unless our members are pushing it through and telling people where to find us, we don't have a budget, as we know, to spread it to everywhere, to do AdWords and to do the whole thing. So the messaging is very key in what JD is saying, but that's what I would align it to. Repetitive. So I put it in our newsletter. I put it on our podcast. We speak it often during our meetings. We do a PR announcement, again, to encourage. And what does it say? Share, follow, invite. So we say that, we encourage our members to spread it, so they become the brand ambassadors. It's really remarkable how we've seen the growth even in lockdown. Like, it's incredible. We have average 2-3 guests a week coming in. It's incredible. So
that's great.
We do have to wrap things up. Our time is unfortunately up. I'm going to finish off by saying that the key with promotion as well, it isn't just about the VP of PR posting and posting and posting. Get the rest of your members in your club to participate in that promotion. Everybody is a VP. Everybody's a VP of PR when it comes to telling other people about Toastmasters, and have whoever's giving a tip of the day for your club meetings, have them post it up. Have whoever gives the word of the day, put those things up there. Have more members get involved in sharing, because that's when more people will see. If it's just one person posting, that gets out to only their friends and whoever's connected to the Facebook page. But if more people attract and more people produce content, more people, and make sure it's good content, make sure it's something people can use, then when they put it out there and other people share it, that's where it becomes the mesh that really gets more engagement. So I'd like to thank everybody. We're a little bit over time now. We need to put things moving forward. If you have more questions, we'll be more than happy to answer them offline, but we do need to respect everyone's time. And of course, talk to those, not just those who are here. Thank you very much for being here. For those who are taking the time to watch this as a post stream, thank you very much. Don't forget to subscribe to our Facebook page and like and share. No, but I'd like to thank the panelists. Thank you, Dennis Kelly. Thank you, Patrice Esper. Thank you, Lynn Pino. And of course, thank you very much, Chris Nelson, for being a Zoom master. I'd like to wrap up with these closing comments. There are clubs that are doing amazing, and that's great. And plan now for things that are going to help you in the future. Make things that are set in stone that you can walk away from, and it's no longer in your hands. That way it rolls and moves along. The energy you put out there is the energy you will attract. And if you if you put the energy out there that this is a place where people learn and have fun, and they're going to enjoy themselves there, then they're going to be part of it, and they're going to want to participate in that. And that's what it becomes about, having more members participate. And that way your club grows and is strong and healthy. And we didn't even get to processes. We didn't even get to, we do scripts at our clubs so that people have easier time of doing things. We have ways of managing things that make it easier for the executives and for the members. And the more you do these things and think about the club as a whole, think about the member experience, the better it'll be. Leadership is, managers are chosen from above. Leaders are chosen from below. If you want to be a good leader for your club, lead. You don't have to have the CEO role to lead. Be the voice, be the structure, be a part of it. And the more that you are, the more that everyone else will, and the more everyone will get out of those clubs. Thank you very much again to Chris Nelson, Program Quality Director. Thank you to District 60 for the ability to do this. Thank you all, and we hope to see you again soon. Take care.